Hey there, welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology forecast for October 23rd through the 29th. And the theme this week is all around moving into Scorpio season and working with this lunar eclipse that we'll have in Taurus, which is opposite Scorpio. So a lot of themes around the Scorpio-Taurus axis in the zodiac this week. My name is Shauna McGrath. I'm a psychotherapist and astrologer, and I'm looking forward to sharing the astrology of this week with you so that you can really dig into these Scorpio and lunar eclipse themes this week in a way that's as helpful as possible. So what's happening this week? So we start off with the sun moving into Scorpio. So happy birthday to my Scorpio people. And we have not just the sun here in Scorpio, we also have Mercury moving into Scorpio this week, and Mars has been here for a little bit as well. So we have Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio. So what is Scorpio about? Scorpio is a fixed sign, so it's about moving more deeply into things. It's about continuing to develop an existing theme. And Scorpio is also a water sign. So water sign is about relationships, emotions, and our whatever it is that connects us with other people. This also tends to be especially emphasized in the feeling realm. And so when we move into Scorpio season, the sun being in Scorpio over the next month or so, this is where there's a spotlight of our conscious awareness, the sun, around themes that are scorpionic in nature. So themes around developing relationships, around developing our feeling sense for things, moving more deeply into feeling. And Scorpio in particular is really associated with having deeper and more intense feeling experiences, experiencing feelings deeply and experiencing the nuance and even the underpinnings of feelings. Scorpio is inherently connected to psychological and human behavior kind of themes and patterns, and understanding that there's so much more than meets the eye with whatever it is that we're doing or feeling or experiencing, that we're nuanced and complicated as humans, and that sometimes we may do or say something that doesn't make sense to us, that doesn't make sense to others, and that through understanding the nature of the human psyche, through studying the way that humans work, the way that our mind, that psyche works, that we can understand what it is that we're feeling at a deeper level, and we can start to understand our behavior patterns as well. And really, like, this is very scorpionic, really getting into the root of a phenomenon. And so this, people that have placements in Scorpio in their birth chart, they live and embody this energy, this really wanting to understand the root of things, wanting to understand feelings, being passionate, being very intensely focused on things, and really wanting to get to the root of things. Scorpionic people live this, but we all get to experience it when the sun is in the sign of Scorpio, and especially so when we have Mercury and Mars there as well. Mercury being the planet that is a symbol of our mind, our intellect, and our communication with one another as well. Now, we also have this lunar eclipse in Taurus this week, right? So this is a partial lunar full moon eclipse. It's happening in Taurus. It's exact Saturday, October 28th at 1:24 p.m. Pacific time at 5 degrees of Taurus. And so this is going to be visible. Let's see, where is this going to be visible? In Europe, Africa, most of Asia, and Western Australia. So because it's a partial eclipse, it is only going to create a shadow on on a portion of the moon. And so we can also look at this astrologically in that the nodes are still in Aries and Libra, and this lunation is happening in Taurus and Scorpio. And so so there's sort of like this a bit of separation. And the way that I would interpret this astrologically is that it's more of a subtle eclipse, especially compared to the one that we had earlier this month around the 14th, that that solar eclipse. That felt more, it was more exact, more intense, more quick moving and spontaneous and changeable kind of energy, where this eclipse, it has a softer tone to it. So when we're in eclipse season, there is usually this feeling of changes happening, of things shifting, things moving, new things coming in, old things falling away, new information coming in a way that can sometimes feel a bit surprising. And I think that we possibly experienced the bulk of that more like quick moving kind of energy, whereas this, it sort of feels like a settling, especially that the lunation is falling in a fixed sign, in the sign of Taurus. And of course, we have the sun at Scorpio, which is also a fixed sign. So Taurus is the opposite end of the spectrum from Scorpio. So Taurus is also a fixed sign. It's also about developing, rooting into things. But Taurus is an earth sign. So in contrast to Scorpio, the water element being focused on relationships and connections and more of like a fluid kind of sense to it, Taurus is the symbology of earth, which is about practical things. It's about the structure of our lives. It's about being concerned with our financial security, stability needs. And what I think is really interesting about Scorpio and Taurus is that both of these signs, there's this theme with them around power and control and finding a sense of sure footing in oneself in the world. And Scorpio does this where there's a sense of power and security and control around emotional connection, whereas Taurus tends to do this finding control and autonomy and power in the physical world, in the physical realm. And that these two signs sort of approach things in a different kind of way, and that we need both in our lives, that we need this balance, the polarity. And so this may come up during this lunar eclipse, this full moon eclipse, because we have the light of consciousness, the awareness, the sun in Scorpio, which is really uncovering new information, things coming to light. And then the moon in Taurus is about, so anytime there's a full moon, there's kind of this culmination effect where it's like anything that we've been working on or we've been trying, it's kind of like there's this, can be this sense of completion or this sense of closure or a sense of receiving the information or the feedback that you needed. And you know, sometimes this is gratifying, and it feels like, especially with a sense of closure, there can be a sense of completeness. Sometimes there can be a sense of disappointment here as well. So it really kind of depends on where you're at in your journey and your life and your phase of you know, your environment and your life situation. But I would say there's a lot to contemplate here around what it is that helps you to feel like you have a sense of power and autonomy and control, and what helps you to feel that inside of yourself versus your external situation. And the other piece of this too is that the sun freshly in Scorpio will be automatically making a trine to Saturn. And so I really like this. This feels also like a stabilizing effect within this eclipse, because Saturn, especially by trine, has a grounding, soothing, stabilizing quality to it. So, Saturn is usually associated with boundaries and restrictions and limitations. But when we think of boundaries in a way that's supportive, it is supportive. Boundaries and restrictions and limitations where it is creating a structure and a sense of safety and security. Like, these are also Saturn themes where there can be something that comes in that brings a sense of feeling like you have sure footing here. And I think that may be a welcome change, especially going from Libra season. And we're still kind of, I think, also settling after a Mercury retrograde that happened. And so this really feels like a rooting kind of energy this week. We're like really rooting into the Scorpio, to getting settled, to getting that fixed sort of energy. Now, of course, this lunation is happening in Taurus. So the ruler of Taurus is Venus. So Venus is still in Virgo, which is a mutable sign. So there's still that kind of like movement energy, but Virgo is also an earth sign. So again, there's a lot of energy here around settling, around focusing, around becoming more clear and having a sense of clarity around what it is that you want, where you want to go. And I think even like a full moon eclipse is also kind of like having this sense of, even if you don't like the situation, you know where you need to go with it, and kind of like a sense of like this feeling of exhale also, where there may be kind of like a buildup of energy leading up to Saturday this week. And then following that, there's sort of this like, okay, I know where I stand, so to speak. Now, the other piece of this week also that's really important is that the Sun and Mercury and even Mars are, when they're in Scorpio, they're also opposite Jupiter and Uranus. And so this again is bringing in that polarity of Scorpio opposite Taurus. So in this case, it is the Sun, consciousness, Mercury, the mind, and then Mars, that sense of like energy and fire and assertiveness. So there's a lot of like assertive kind of energy and conscious awareness kind of energy in the sign of Scorpio. So like really looking at, especially, when we think about the unconscious, we think about the shadow being the parts of ourselves that we feel uncomfortable with and that we unconsciously deny or push away, even the beautiful parts of ourselves that for some reason feel unacceptable. Scorpio, especially the Sun and Mercury in Scorpio, is about exploring those and sort of like exposing and giving air and space to the parts of ourselves that maybe we have as a protective measure that we've pushed away in some way. And so what's really interesting is, so there's this like becoming more aware of what has been shelved, what has been repressed, what has been pushed away. And this is opposite Jupiter. So this is most exact when it comes to Mercury and Mars this week, being opposite Jupiter. So there is this like Jupiter coming in and expanding and elaborating on that exposure effect. And this is an opposition. So there's inherently some tension here. There is kind of this this feeling of sometimes needing to choose between one or the other. And Oppositions also tend to compel us into action, tend to compel us to do something, to either make a choice or to figure out how to integrate. The thing with a polarity is that there is a place where the two can meet. There is a sense of finding a place on that continuum where it feels like there can be a sense of balance, where there can be a sense of the two opposites coming together for a common goal or for a common purpose. And so in this case, it's really about Mercury, the mind, and Mars, the assertiveness, finding a place to expand. And how can we take in new information? How can we expand our sense of self? How can we expand our mind and our ability to be assertive, to confront, and not in confrontation doesn't have to be a negative thing, but how can we, I think, find ways to be direct in a way that feels healthy and inclusive and life-giving? I think that's the other thing here too with Mars and Scorpio is that there can be some freeing up of the energy and the vitality and the life force through acknowledging what has been unsaid, Scorpio. Okay, so yeah, like that's a lot, right? So let's pull some cards for you. And yeah, I think this week there's a lot to feel into. There's a lot to think about. As always, whenever we have eclipses, and this just feels like really. I think the other thing about this week too is that this is about allowing a concept or an idea or a feeling, like allowing it to unfold like a flower blooming, and that you don't have to have all of the answers right away. Yeah, sometimes it's not about like having the awareness, the awakening, though of course that may happen for you, but this is more about like following the small subtle guideposts or the little crumbs that lead you to where it is that you're going. There's kind of this this slow opening, and how can we follow that? Okay. Of course, if you want to pick a number between 1 and 3 and have one of those cards be for you, or you can look at the reading as a whole. Okay. So I pulled the Queen of Swords first. And so the Queen of Swords feels very Mercury and Scorpio to me. It's really about having a strong, clear mind and using the voice, being vocal, being bold, being clear. Like there's this very like astute and kind of like laser-like ability to really see the detail and the nuance, to see very clearly what is going on. Now, of course, in excess, this can be being critical or harsh or whether that's directed outside of you or, towards yourself. And the figure in this card, I think, is so endearing. It's this figure that has a sword and they're like riding on a basket. It almost looks like they're riding on a basket in the sky. So there's some movement here. There's some going on a journey, maybe. So Queen of Swords, this could be you. This could be an energy. But this is someone who is like very good with words and knows how to use their words in a way that is helpful and that brings something to the situation. There's like a wisdom there, like an intellectual wisdom. So we'll go back to that in a moment. The second card is the Two of Wands. And so this is about vision. This is about seeing your goals, seeing your future, having having like a long-term plan, and not just like, oh, this is where I want to go because this makes sense. The Two of Wands is about like really thinking about the future that you want, and it kind of brings the word legacy to mind as well. Like what is your and I'm even like really drawn to, there's kind of this like almost rainbow looking sort of symbol in this card. And yeah, like really claiming your path, where it is that you're going, what it is that you want, and really holding this vision for yourself. Okay. The third card is the Seven of Pentacles. So interestingly, Seven of Pentacles is about putting in the daily work and the study to do what it is that you need to do. And I want to read from the guidebook for this one, because the imagery in this one is there's a figure and they have braids, and their cat looks like it's just tipped over a big pot of liquid, and it looks like very chaotic in the card. So I'm curious, yeah, what does this deck think about this particular one? So Seven of Pentacles says, in haste and confusion, erroneous actions can be made. Take your time, think it over, and take a good look around. Okay, yeah. So this is about evaluating your progress. But I think so, okay, I think it's very interesting that the Seven of Pentacles is usually about evaluating your progress, taking stock of things, and kind of like taking a pause in the hard work that you're doing, not stopping the hard work, but kind of being like, okay, where do I want to go from here? It feels very full moon energy to me. What I think is interesting is that this comes after the Two of Wands, which is about holding this vision for yourself and imagining the future. And so it's kind of like, is there a rethinking about where it is that you're going? Or maybe like strategizing and being like, okay, what do I need to do now? Like, what's my my plan of action for going forward? And how can I create the life, like the next steps that align with that and that feel good, and that like don't feel super chaotic? And that the big picture of this, though, is the Queen of Swords. So the big picture of this is really focused around your voice and what it is you have to say, whether that is something that you have to share with a broader audience, or what it is that is true for you, like what it is that is your truth, what is authentic for you, how are you using your voice? And when I'm saying your voice, like this is about the literal words that you say, but it's also what it is that you communicate through your actions, through your behavior, through what it is that you accept or receive or say yes to, or what you say no to. Like this is about you. Like this, the Queen of Swords is so much around your integrity and like really knowing what is true for you and living in your truth, and having like a big part of that is connected to the vision of the life that you have for yourself and where you're going, your long-term vision, etc. And then yeah, like how do you live that in a way that 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 doesn't feel chaotic, that feels like you're moving at a pace that allows you to really think things through. I think that's one of the biggest, like more immediate recommendations from this tarot, is to evaluate, think things through. But I'm also seeing this in the astrology with the fixed sign emphasis. It's like, okay, where are we going? What's happening? And to like really take time to be with yourself and what it is that you want and what is exploring uh, day by day, moment by moment, week by week, what it is that's true for you and how that changes over time, because it is going to change over time because we are not static. All right. So I hope that this was helpful for you. I am wishing you so much ease and like smooth sailing through this eclipse season. Sending you lots of love. And of course, thank you so much for those of you that have done a rating or a comment or a review on if you're listening to this via podcast so that other people can find these weekly videos. It makes them more searchable when you do like a comment or a rating or something like that. So thank you so much for doing that. And I am wishing you a wonderful week. I will see you soon. Bye.